Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hope you're doing great today. This is going to be our next part of our MEV Hackathon here at Encode Club with Wintermute and Flashbots. Just a little recap. We still are accepting registrations for the hackathon. I will post that here below. Another recap from Monday, we had a last session with Robert Miller that is recorded, so all of our events are recorded so you can catch up with it. We are currently in our third week of the hackathon, so things are progressing. Please reach out to me if you have any questions, concerns about the hackathon, technical help. Would love to hear what you're building. I will also post my Calendly in this session to talk to you guys one-on-one. And kind of continue, as well as our future updated events. Thanks for everybody joining. We have a great workshop today from Wintermute. This is going to be on careers and ventures. So we've got a lot of interest in Wintermute. How do we kind of tap into their pipeline of jobs and get in contact with them, and then even ventures after later. Hey, I'm building a project, would like to know how to go about getting in contact. So we have two great speakers today. We have Ishaq, who's kind of head of talent acquisition at Wintermute, as well as Jonas, who is kind of the head of ventures. So we're kind of going to do a 50-50 split between the two. And then if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll kind of have a question and answer at the end for you. So don't hesitate to put them in the chat as of now. Great. I think we have some question. Can one still join a team? Yes, you can still join a team. Please reach out to me on Discord. I can help line you up with one, or we can talk about other ways for that. But without further ado, let's pass it over to the Wintermute team for today's session. I think we'll start with Ishaq, if I'm correct. We'll pass over to you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everyone, for attending. The whole aim of this presentation would be to give you a quick overview of careers at Wintermute, as well as typical job openings that we have and what our application process looks like. So let's kick things off with a quick refresher on Wintermute. If you missed the last week's session, please get involved. That will be giving you sort of more insights into Wintermute as well as DeFi. But just a quick refresher for anyone that's new today, Wintermute are essentially a high-frequency algorithmic market maker for crypto assets, covering both CeFi and DeFi. So the core function of the business is market making. We do have an OTC function as well, so that focuses on dealing with high net worth individuals, trading with us directly. And then we've got a ventures arm as well, which my colleague Jonas will sort of dig into a little bit later today. So moving on to the next slide in terms of open positions at Wintermute, and these include both London and Singapore based. So let's begin with the sort of DeFi open application. This one, we kept it as an open application because we're interested to see people that have specific skills in DeFi. It doesn't have to be technically focused. It could be a non-technical position within DeFi. So we have areas within sort of governance and research, as well as business development. So don't be afraid if you can't code. There's still positions open within DeFi. So please let us know when you apply which one or which business area you're most interested in. The next two on the C++ side, I'll combine both of those together. But the whole aim of the C++ team is to continue to build an optimal low latency C++ platform. And typically we're looking for people that have extensive experience in C++, ideally, someone that lives and breathes C++. It doesn't necessarily have to have, someone with crypto experience, but it's a great opportunity for someone that doesn't have crypto experience to get into the crypto world. I'll also combine the next two roles together as well, the core developer and software engineer, as they both require someone with extensive Python experience to basically support with automation in the business. On the senior algorithmic trading quant position, we're looking for an experienced quantitative researcher, ideally someone that has skills in black box modeling and machine learning on shorter time horizons from a trading standpoint, as well as exceptional Python skills. And then moving on to our Singapore-based vacancies, we have an algorithmic trader rollout there. We can consider people who are experienced traders or even fresh graduates, but the sort of two requirements we have is someone that has, great trading intuition as well as Python coding experience, because every trader at Wintermute can code in Python, so that's a definite must. Moving on to the next slide. So this is our typical application process, 6 steps. It looks very exhausting. However, 3 of those steps include, one's the initial application with screening questions, followed by, online test, and then a case study. And then the rest are sort of face-to-face interactions with the team members. We like to keep our interview processes really thorough. That's why we get people involved in doing take-home tasks in the form of a case study. This allows generally candidates to show their capabilities and allow us to see sort of evidence of work being done in a way that, it's hard to get that sort of piece of information out from verbal interviews. So we tend to do case studies instead. Also, the QR code up there, will direct you straight to the Wintermute career page, where you can see all the live vacancies along with the job specifications. Moving on. So introducing Bebop. So a lot of you guys here probably don't know what Bebop is, but I thought it was worth sort of highlighting in this presentation about what Bebop is and some of the live vacancies they have on their careers page. Bebop is essentially a company that's incubated by Wintermute. It's a new decentralized trading application that allows users to swap their tokens. It's got unique features such as, being able to swap one token to many tokens and many tokens into one, and allows people to sort of save on trading fees from that perspective. And then we also provide 0% slippage as well. So the price you execute at is the price you get it at. So some of these features are really valuable, especially, as a retail consumer, you have so many coins and you think the market's going to dump and you want to change all to stables. You can do that all in one execution instead of manually sort of closing your trades or converting it back to stables. So in terms of what Bebop are looking for is really, really top talent. So let's touch upon that in the next slide. So the open positions at Bebop. So the QR code there will direct you straight to the Bebop career page. But essentially what they're looking for is a lead software engineer, essentially someone that has experience working in a DeFi protocol, more specifically with Ethereum, and has full stack experience, front end as well as back end languages. So that's typically what we're looking for the lead. For the senior front end engineer, we're looking for someone that has extensive experience in building UIs. More specifically, ideally someone that has crypto experience or even better DeFi experience, because UIs in the world of crypto are a lot different to traditional finance, because there's a lot more involved, especially in DeFi where you have to call like smart contracts, etc. On the mobile engineering side, again, Bebop is currently a web application. The focus then would be to convert that engineering into sort of a mobile platform. So we're looking for guys that have experience with React Native. The next two I won't discuss in too much detail because they're pretty much self-explanatory, but the head of business ops and marketing manager. So what would differentiate a good candidate would be, someone that has crypto and DeFi experience that could really add value from operations and marketing standpoint. And then finally, we have, open application, and that's, us being open to seeing speculative CVs of anyone that they can feel could add value to Bebop from a technical and non-technical standpoint. So that's it for my presentation. Here are our socials, Twitter, LinkedIn, Medium, and my personal Twitter and LinkedIn. So feel free to go ahead and scan the QR code. But happy to take any questions now. What does Bebop relate to Wintermute? Okay, so Bebop is basically Wintermute incubated Bebop. It's an idea generated from Wintermute, but Wintermute is a separate company. Are Wintermute, Bebop willing to sponsor visas for the UK? Yes, we are. Who should I contact for positions at Bebop? At the moment, you can contact me until we, find a recruiter for Bebop to sort of take over, as I'm just currently supporting them. How many quant researchers do you have at Wintermute? So we currently have 3 quants at Wintermute. So we kind of differentiate algo traders and quants at Wintermute. So algo traders are responsible for modifying parameters or backtesting their strategies, whereas quants at Wintermute are responsible for researching new signals. In terms of internship opportunities, so we did have intern opportunities this year, but we have closed our internship program. We will be advertising a new vacancy probably later this year or early next year for intakes for 2023. So do keep an eye on our career page. When the grad roles open for London, so again, it will be in January, but we are hiring for a graduate trader in Singapore at the moment. So anyone that's graduated this year, that's still yet to find a role, you can give that a shot. Any plans for opening quant roles in the future, except the senior one open now? Do you need quants to be proficient in C++ too? So we will plan to expand our quant team probably later this year. We don't expect quants to have C++ experience. Python is the key language for quants, and more specifically, we want people that have experience in machine learning. Things like reinforcement learning will be a value add, but if you've got the standard machine learning within the quant finance world, that would just do fine. For the Python developer role, university degree required. Ideally, yes, from a degree standpoint, but we're more focused around the experience you can bring to the table. So if you've got more experience and you don't have a degree, then we'd still be open to seeing that. What kind of experience or skills do you look for in an algorithmic trader and quant? Typical skills we look for is, in terms of background wise, degree in a quantitative subject. Python skill is a must. Great mathematics and great trading intuition. So, in the past, we've had, a lot of software developers trying to apply for trading positions. And it didn't work out because they didn't have the sort of trading mindset. So, yeah. So offices are based near Oxford Circus. Do you hire from a data science background? Yes, we do, especially within the quant side of things, because we really appreciate the sort of machine learning experience that you gain from a data science background. With regards to reinforcement learning, we're not creating a team around it, but it's one sort of technique that we're looking to sort of add on to the team of quants that we have, and being able to use that technique to sort of benefit from a trading standpoint. Okay, I'll probably leave it there in terms of questioning, but feel free to message or connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter and drop me a DM if you've got any more questions. But thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much. That's headed over to Jonas from Ventures.
Give me 2 seconds, guys. You can get on screen here.
No worries. Yeah, don't hesitate to, reach out to me if you have any questions in regard to any of the materials today as well. We can pass those on. Good. Listen, straight from recruiting to venture, slightly different, instead of joining a firm, you might be building something on your own. It might be interesting for us. Regarding questions, feel free to shoot them over. I'll probably take them at the end, but no dumb questions out there. So use the session to ask us. And I think, venture capital is often a little bit of an opaque. Sometimes they're always that clear what the different firms do. But hopefully today I give you a sense of what Wintermute does and why we do it differently to some other firms in the industry, and what we stand for. I think as Ishaq highlighted, within Wintermute we have 3 core businesses. So today I want to talk about ventures. So Wintermute has been around for 5 years, but over the last 3 years, we started doing venture investment. And we have done that to support the broader ecosystem. So Wintermute business is clearly within the broader core trading infrastructure of crypto, both on the CeFi and the DeFi side.
And then, like many other people in the industry, we have an ambition to broaden the DeFi exposure, the decentralized protocols. And that was one of the initiatives for starting a venture arm. It was to support a lot of the younger companies coming up. And then maybe one day they become a commercial partner for Wintermute, or we see them grow. But that was kind of one of the main drivers for us creating a small venture arm within our firm. And just why do we invest? A lot of VCs out there today invest for financial purposes. No secret, we will of course also invest for the financial benefits of it, like any other investor. But I think what's really important is why we do it and what's the core of why Wintermute invest. And I think, like many firms, we do have a dream of decentralized protocols, and especially DeFi becoming maybe as big as CeFi one day. And that is one of the big visions we have. So a lot of our investing has been to support builders, founders, incredible teams, build out, the broader ecosystem. And a lot of that has been related to trading. So, we believe in transparent, fair markets. You will also hear our CEO, Genny, talk about this. A lot of our investment shows that support, and shows when we kind of, there's a saying, when you put your money where your mouth is. That's kind of what we have done here. So we try to find founders, teams out there building something that brings transparency to the financial markets. And then clearly, we are a big player in the industry. So I think for us, it's also important to help the young firms out there. And especially within DeFi and our core market making business, we're definitely one of the more prominent firms. Having said that, a lot of talk about DeFi. We have actually invested in the broader ecosystem, and that today is something we focus quite a lot on. I think it's also important to highlight us as an investor, and I will go into the next slide on like what we look for. But I think when you look at venture capital in both traditional and in crypto today, you see a lot of different firms out there. I think where Wintermute differentiate is that we are effectively rooted in building stuff. So a lot of venture firms are investors. I'm clearly an investor, but the broader Wintermute team are builders, DeFi or CeFi, that's the ethos within the business, and that all comes out. So a lot of times, if you are an early stage startup, you're looking for funding, clearly we'll provide the capital that another firm does, but we will provide a lot of things that a traditional VC won't. So over the years, we invested across roughly 60 protocols, and I would guess around 20 of them or 30 of them, maybe even half, we are today a big user of. So that means we might be a big customer, whether it's a lending and borrowing protocol, we might be an execution partner to a wealth management firm, or if it's one of the big, 1inch or Hashflow, for example, we may buy an execution partner, a liquidity provider to those. So across the firm, we try to not only just be the investor, we also try to be a partner to these firms. We're not saying we can stand in and be, a lot of the VC firms out there, they do something we don't, but it's just to say we definitely bring something onto the table. It's also fair to say we have a very different mandate. It's our own capital, so it's no external investors here. So it also means that it is Wintermute investing. There is no LPs behind you. That gives us a lot of flexibility. It also means our capital is long-term, so we can take some views that maybe a VC fund can in terms of funding some bets that really have a long-term time frame. I'll jump to the next slide. I hope that gives a sense of what we do and why we want to invest in the ecosystem, but happy to take any questions. So what do we look for? I think at the end of the day, we look for something that can help this ecosystem. I think everyone on this call today is here because we have a lot for blockchain technology. We probably also have, some interest in how both the trading universe works. You guys have the Encode Hackathon here, which clearly a lot of the stuff you guys are looking at could be relevant. So I think that's important. But when we look to a lot of you guys out there, there is no right and wrong. Like, we all have different personality. Founders have different ideas. There's no crazy ideas. But to give you a sense of how we assess people that come across us and ask for help, support, and funding, we often look to people having a strong mission, right? Like vision being, you can really tell what they're building, what they're thinking is coming out through their words. We also look for people that kind of is aligned with us and thinking about, things have to be not necessarily, but often decentralized. It has to be practical use cases. So call it simple, but we like things that are, really solves the problem. I know it sounds odd, but in crypto, we have seen projects, at least in the past, where you were thinking maybe they're building something to solve something that's not really a problem. That's often something we try to test a little bit. We also look for founders who has a lot of tenacity, and is able to kind of weather the storms. You can call it, ice in the stomach, or I don't know what you want to use, but some will argue we're in a bear market. It moves extremely fast, much quicker than traditional finance. I think having some integrity and tenacity to keep building, keep believing in what you're doing, I think is super important. And that is something we try to kind of assess when we speak to founders. And I think a lot of people have a similar view on that one. Clearly, we have a super flexible mandate. I know Wintermute's core business within trading. That doesn't mean we don't support NFT projects, gaming projects. We do support the whole gamut. The one thing we do kind of think is important is the blockchain technology innovation is at the core. It might not be, a new layer one you're building, but as long as it sits within that ecosystem, that also aligns with what we want to push forward, and that's the broader crypto ecosystem. We support from the very early stage of businesses, but we also go up and do what's called stage B, maybe even later in some instances. The reason we have that flexible mandate is we want to be able to support the founders from early stage and then follow on if they need follow-on capital in later rounds. Again, we have a super flexible mandate given it's our own funds. And that just means that founders can be very open, come to us at various stages. In terms of how early we go, we will go fairly early. And this seed stage, which a lot of you will know, it's a broad term used in the industry. For us, that is, there is no this is too small. Having said that, if you come to us and we think this is an amazing team, but it's just too early or it doesn't quite fit, we do work with a lot of the incubators where we do send a lot of projects, and then maybe once they're graduated, they come back to us. And there's also a lot of projects we see which we might not be the right funding partner for, but actually we built a super strong commercial relationship with them. They use our API to work with our business development team. So in a lot of instances, reach out if you have something you think is interesting for us, and we can take the dialogue. And it might not end up in us investing, but it often ends up in a commercial relationship if that's the case. I think it's also fair to say we can be a majority investor. But I think 9 out of 10 cases, we believe in taking small stakes, let the founders control in the early stages. And once they develop the infrastructure, a lot of the projects we have supported will go into a DAO structure and maybe create a token or, to create some kind of governance model that is decentralized. And that is something we support. And I think that's also a little bit the ethos of supporting this ecosystem. In terms of what we have invested in, I think it may be worth giving a little bit of color around that. So we invested in 65 projects since the early 2000s. On the page, you will see some of the projects, maybe some of the more known projects across 6 buckets. That is not encompassing our whole portfolio, but it's to give you a sense of some of the projects and the verticals where we're heavily exposed. Having said this, there's a lot of other projects without these 6 verticals we have, but this has kind of been our main key verticals, and for all of these, you can find some kind of link to a core business, whether it's on the lending side. I think it's a secret that Clearpool, Wintermute has a relationship simultaneously we are investor. And then clearly across the trading platforms, that's super core to our business. We invest in a lot of them. No secret, we've invested in DY and EX. One is similar, and clearly we also have a commercial relationship there. Having said that, it's not necessary for us to have a commercial relationship to be an investor. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But I hope that gives you a bit of sense of where we've invested and kind of where we feel we have a pretty strong expertise across the ecosystem. So if you sit out there and want to get in contact, and I will say no dumb ideas, please reach out. We have to give some feedback, also sometimes candid, because I think that might be helpful. We will also be the first to acknowledge if we don't have expertise in the area you're building. But if you're interested to reach out, please do so. I put on the slide here a few things which I think is good to kind of, when you're pitching, clearly, really get across very early on what problem you're tackling. Like that, in crypto, there's a lot of complicated projects, a lot of things, rabbit holes you go down, but get that problem across early on. Also give a bit of background about yourself. A lot of projects that we invest in including the vision and what they're building, but at the end of the day, we're investing in the founders. And a lot of early stage projects will pivot. At the end of the day, we have to believe in the founders. So if you provide a bit of information about yourself, that's often helpful, not only for us, but I suspect for a lot of other VCs out there. And then clearly, if you have a pitch deck, it could be a document, it could be a memo. I would actually say a memo, a one-pager is often more helpful than a long deck for someone like us to review. And then clearly, if you can provide a demo, beta, anything tangible, that's always super helpful. And then, people always talk about terms you're raising, and you are very happy to set terms to us or give an indication, but oftentimes that's also not required, depending on where you are in your cycle. So I hope that was helpful to get a sense of it might be a speed tour of Wintermute Ventures. I also think it's fair to say Wintermute Ventures sits within the broader Wintermute ecosystem. So what that means is that we do work across teams. It is a separate unit within Wintermute, but you just see as Wintermute Ventures is representative of Wintermute and vice versa. And we definitely have that for our eye when we represent our venture arm externally. Good. Q&A. Any questions? Or I'll see if I can manage to see what's coming. I'll just take it. So what are we looking for in co-founding teams? Can it all be technical? It definitely can. I think just because you're technical doesn't mean that you need a business developer. I'm not a technical person by nature, but I think a lot of the people we see is a lot of technical people. They know the detail, they can build. And in the early stage, that's super important, not taking any away from the business development side. But if your team is fully technical, I think you just need to be aware that maybe you need someone that's slightly more commercial. But that is, from our perspective, definitely no decline. I would say quite opposite, especially if you're building something a little bit more on the technical side. A technical team is and a lot of teams we are supporting, if the founding team will be purely technical. In terms of acceptance rate for first of all, when you apply for funding at a venture firm, I'd be very frank with you, a lot of people will see rejections because a venture firm simply don't have ample enough capital to invest. And also a lot of firms are just not venture ready, meaning it could be a fantastic product, but I think venture firms that invest at the seed stage, they do invest for what is called home runs effectively. We invest to see you grow your business, not 2-3x, but 10-15x, meaning you might have a fantastic protocol or might have a fantastic project and it's a great team, but we might not deem the full potential of the business relevant for venture capital. Having said that, it doesn't mean so an acceptance rate. It's not 50%. It's much lower than that. But giving you one like acceptance rate for a school or similar, like when you apply for Stanford and Harvard and it's 7%, it would be very misleading, I think. Contact details, yes. If you write to VC at Wintermute, you will get the team here. And we are very happy to. We will see what comes through on that. I got a HR question. We do actually, to some extent, look for, we don't have open roles, which Ishaq highlighted, but having said that, if we see people who have a strong interest sitting on our side of the table, especially a bit more on the research governance side, it's no secret we're also active on the governance side. We have a person in our team called Calvin, which you might have seen across all the projects we invested in, whether it's DYDX or Lido. He's been active there. We are seeking to have more people on board here. So if you want to send an application on to the ventures, very, very open to have a conversation if relevant. But to be clear, we don't have any specific role today, but we are definitely seeking people. what do we require for the whole process to be done from pre-seed? For example, do you need a business plan? What is your due diligence process? Yeah, good question. So what do we require? There is no checkbox exercise. There's nothing we require. But I think at the end of the day, when you do investments at the seed stage, you need to have a few things solved. We need to see a clear vision for what is being built. We need to understand that the team is capable of doing this, at least until they're asking for money to expand their team. But we need to understand that the core team can build what is called MVP, to get something off the ground. That is part of this. So what does that usually look like? For us, it usually looks like a team pitches us. We either receive it or through a connection, or we receive it when you email it to VC at Wintermute. Read through the materials. We jump on a call with the funding team, where I think both parties get a sense of whether this is relevant. So clearly, we will assess the project and the team, but I also hope that the people on the other side, so the startups seeking funding, actually think, do we want these guys as shareholders? Because remember, it's just not only us, it's also the other way around. The due diligence process usually is then a little bit depending on what you're seeking. Clearly, the more money you're seeking, the more due diligence we will do. But we will dig a little bit into the founders, understand their background. We might do a reference check on them. If there's current investors, we will also chat to them. So that's one thing I'll be very aware of. We will do a technical DD often, where we will invite people in from our core business, whether it's our DeFi team, whether it's our technical team, or we might invite some people in from our mid office, if it's like a KYC, AML. So we will do that over usually 1 to 2 calls of commercial stuff. And if it's a small early stage project, at that time, we will do external research on our side. We might have some information requests coming in. And at that point, we will huddle internally, and then we'll revert to the team with a commitment. And I think, to be very clear, we'll only commit if we can fulfill that commitment. So clearly, with the current market and how things have gone and people have pulled commitments, to be very clear, we only give an indication to a team once we can commit it. How long does this take? It all depends. We can be very quick. We can turn around in a few days if required. We can also take a bit longer. I think often these things, you want to have a little bit of time. So you want to keep some cadence with your investors if you're trying to get around, but you also want to give them a little time to do their DD. So I hope that answers the question. Maybe that was a long answer. Are we investing in other market-making firms? I think our industry is, first of all, a super friendly industry. So I don't think it's any secret that we have friendly competition with Jump, GSRs of the world, and ourselves. We are investing a lot of times with them alongside companies. Are we investing in other market-making firms? At this stage, no, we haven't invested in what I will call direct competitor to us. Having said that, in crypto, a lot of things, we can have an OTC client who could be a potential client of one of the companies we invested in or one of the exchanges. So no, there is no, okay, we're not going to invest in Jump, for example. So to put it there. I think the message from us is we're very open for questions, and also if you don't have something to pitch, but you have ideas or similar ideas, please do feel welcome to reach out to VC at Wintermute for our ventures arm. And otherwise, I hope today was helpful, and you get a little bit more sense of what Wintermute Ventures stand for within the broader Wintermute ecosystem. I think I'll hand it over to the Encode team.
Thanks so much, Jonas. Appreciate that. Yeah, recap, we will have kind of this recording up tomorrow, as well as some of the resources that were posted to get in contact, like the emails. So if you missed any of that, that will be written up in an article and posted later tomorrow on our Medium page. So if you're worried about missing anything, don't worry, we will have all that for you. Thanks so much to the Wintermute team for joining us today. Big thanks. I know a lot of our community was looking at talent as well as kind of ventures as their coming out of this hackathon and are interested in continuing their project and seeing it through after. And this kind of made some clarity on that as well. So thanks so much, Wintermute team, for joining us today. And we will have another session tomorrow for the hackathon. That will be at MEV with Hasu. I will post that event right now. And please reach out to me if you have any questions, concerns. I am most responsive on Discord. I think I posted it there. But we will have it, yes, same time tomorrow, 5:30 GMT +1, and round it out there. Thanks everyone for joining, and we will see you guys tomorrow.